Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining the session. My name is Vignesh and I am a part of the Applied AI team at Fireworks AI. I'm going to take you through a small presentation, maybe like 5 minutes on what Fireworks AI is, what we're doing, and also how you can use open source models through Fireworks AI on Foundry and start building out AI workflows for like different use cases. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we are high-performance open-source inference for open-source models. We have a founding team from PyTorch at Meta and Vertex at GCP. We have day zero support for almost all the major open-source providers out there, from Kimi to GLM 5.1. We serve around 13 trillion tokens per day and 180,000 requests per second. You also have the option of bringing your own models to Foundry and then deploying them using the Fireworks serving stack. It's optimized for ultra-low latency, and we can also tune it for high throughput to make sure it's production ready for your workflows, and you can use it to serve your customers. We are first-party Azure integration, and you can use your Mac or build it via Azure. How the Fireworks serving stack itself works. So it's basically workload-aware optimization for like different models that's available out there. Once you find an open source model that is up to mark with your evaluations, then we make sure that we tune different knobs to optimize it for your specific workload. You can have adaptive caching. We help you quantize the model, but also have our own serving stack with our own inference engine called Fire Attention, but also choose the right setup of hardware that you would need to make sure you have like high throughput or like really low latency across your workload. So that's what we do, and then we abstract this and give you an endpoint that you can start using in production immediately. How Fireworks operates on Microsoft Foundry. So you would be able to access all the state-of-the-art open models day zero on Foundry. We make sure we enable new models as they keep rolling out. It's optimized inference for like specific workloads that we spoke about in the previous slide. And of course, it's at an enterprise scale, so you would be able to scale up without any break in the workflow. And you can also like bring your own custom models, bring your own weights after fine-tuning, and then upload it to Foundry to serve inference. A lot of people right now are really interested in post-training their models. So how that workflow would work is once you're done post-training the weights, you would register that custom model in Microsoft Foundry, and then you would create a deployment, and then the inference request would be routed using the Fireworks serving stack, and that's how you will get optimized inference with your own custom weights that you bring. Some of the use cases that we see across the board are like code completion, code review bots, customized chatbots, and even like some transcription and summarization use cases. And a lot of people also like to experiment with the different open source models. So you start with some sort of A/B testing. I'm going to show you how you can compare different open source models through Foundry, and then you can pick the best and then create an agent with that, and then you can start serving that using the Foundry endpoints that are being created. So these are some of the models that are available right now through Fireworks AI on Foundry, but we keep adding to the list. And as more and more models come out, we work really hard to make sure that we enable them on day zero so that you can get access to all the latest models. So I'm going to switch over to the Microsoft Foundry page and take you through what a workflow would look like. So this would be the landing page when you log into Foundry. And then if you go to Discover and you navigate to the models page, this is where you get all the different providers that are available on Foundry and the plethora of models that are available there. So what I would do is go search here for Fireworks. So these are all the multi-tenant models that are already enabled. So the infrastructure is already ready for you to go and start using. So what you would have to do is, let's say you want to use a Kimi K 2.6 model and test it for your particular use case. I would click on that model, and then I would go to deploy. So for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to take you through the different deployment options that would be available to you and how you would go about using that to testing it out. So there are like different deployment types. So data zone standard is basically the multi-tenant serverless endpoint that you would get for you to start testing Kimi K 2.6. So you can set tokens per minute rate limits across different accounts so that you can manage how much they can start calling this model and experiment with it. So this would be one common endpoint across multiple different users that you can start testing with. Maybe you just run evals on it and you don't run a massive production workload on this endpoint. If you're satisfied with the Kimi model, hello, yeah, okay. So once you're up to mark with your benchmarks and evaluation looks good on the model, and you want to move to a more dedicated deployment or a single-tenant deployment, that is when you would explore the global provision throughput or the data zone provision throughput. So if you click on this option, you can see there's like a PTU calculation metric that's going to come through. So this is going to help you calculate how many provision throughput units you would need to deploy to serve your production workload. So let's say I have an input token of 80,000, and then it's like 500 output tokens that are being generated, and it's going to be like 300 requests per minute or 3,000 requests per minute, and then I calculate, it's going to show that you need 61,500 PTUs to cover this particular deployment. And then once you max out the scale, right now it's up to 1160. That's all you could go to. So you would have to make sure that the workload meets the PTU units calculation, and then you click on deploy. It's going to create a single tenant deployment for you. So before moving on to like a specific dedicated deployment, you would want to test out how the model is actually performing for your specific use case. So in the interest of time, I'm going to switch over to some models that I've already deployed. So let's say I have a Kimi 2.5 and a Minimax model already deployed here. So I'm going to go to the Minimax model. And this is opening me up to like a playground where I can start chatting with the model to see how it's performing for my use case. So let's say I have a code review agent, and I want to test out of the box how this particular model is with identifying specific aspects of a code. So here I want the model to catch issues with SQL injections or like hard-coded secrets that are already there. So you can see there's like the latency is super quick. You have like a very good response already generated. So you go through the response, you see if it's good enough for your particular use case, and you also have the option of pitting two models against each other. So let's say I want to compare this with a Kimi 2.6 model. Then I go to the compare models UI, and then I'm going to send the same input again so that it simultaneously generates output across these two models. You can see the Minimax model is like, it does not have a lot of traffic right now, so the answer was generated super quickly, whereas the Kimi model is generating a more detailed answer, which involves a lot of thinking. It's giving you different options of how you need to go about deploying this particular code into production. So depending on how important the different aspects of latency, quality, and how many tokens generated are, you can pick one of these models and then click on Save as Agent. So let's say I want to save the Minimax model as an agent. I click on Save as Agent here. Or if I want to click have the Kimi model serving as an agent, then I would click use Save as an Agent for this particular model. So I've already deployed some, like a code review agent. So let's say I have a saved agent. Now I want to run it through some evaluations. So how would I go about doing that? So inside the playground, you have a metrics configurator. So you can use different agents that are already pre-configured inside Foundry with your own custom evaluation data sets. So I want to run it through a set of 50 rows I want to see if it's performing well for intent resolution, coherence, fluency, relevance. And then I'm going to select those metrics, and then I'm going to click on Run Full Evaluation. I want to run the evaluation not against just the model, but my entire agent harness. It might include multiple tool calls, or you might have a very detailed system prompt that you've already created the agent with. So I want to use the entire harness to run my evaluation. So I'm going to pick the agent, and then I'm going to click on Next. You have different options. I'm going to go with the existing data set one and not the synthetic generation. I uploaded a code review eval data set. It's like 50 rows. And then it's going to give you a preview of what it looks like. What do I have? I have like ground truth here to make sure that I can have a comparison with the generated response. And then you can also use some of the open source benchmarks that are already there. This is pre-uploaded. So if it's like a basic coding agent and you want to send it through some of the benchmarks that are available, then you can use it. I'm going to use my data set for this particular workflow. And then there is automated field mapping. I have a GPT-4o mini as my judge model for this particular use case. And I'm just going to click on next, and then there's a bunch of auto-suggested criteria. You might not want to evaluate against all of this. Maybe you just want to do relevance, groundedness, and coherence. So you would just select that. And then you click on next again, and then you give it a name, and then you can submit. So this would ensure that the entire suite of evaluation that you have is run against all the rows, and you will have percentage like numbers against each metric that you wanted to evaluate for. So I have some I already ran some evaluations. I have like a pre-existing run. So this one was already completed for this particular for the code review agent that I had built. So if you can see, task completion is at 90%, task adherence, and all of this. You can go through the metrics, and if it's not good, then you tweak your hardness further. You can go back to the same agent, create multiple iterations or versions of it, and run the evaluation metrics again until it hits your benchmark and you want to push it to production. So once you're satisfied with the agent, you have different ways of publishing it. You can first take a look at the web app preview of how it would look like on the front end if you're choosing to publish through Foundry. So this is the same agent basically without the playground, and you can send the same prompt here and see how it's performing. And if you want to use it as a workflow in code, then you would go to the call agent tab, and you will have snippets of code available to you. You can also either use the project endpoint with your specific API key for your account and make sure you can incorporate it in Python workflows that's outside of the Azure Foundry UI. So this is how like an end-to-end workflow of going from just testing, comparing models, and how you would go about starting to use this iterated model in like a production workflow look like. So you can test out the web UI, you can take the code snippet and start using it in Python workflows offline. So this would how like Fireworks AI on Foundry function, and this is how intuitive and easy it would be to use open source models. Now, let's say you're still not happy with the quality of the out-of-the-box open source models, and you want to move to a more fine-grained workflow of doing some sort of post-training. That's when the bring your own weights come into play. So you would take the base model as is, and you can use any fine-tuning framework available outside of Foundry or on Foundry. And we also, the Fireworks AI native platform also supports fine-tuning. You can go there, use one of our SFT or RFT frameworks that are available, tune the models, and upload those weights, and go through the same workflow that I just showed you to make sure you can serve inference on open source models using the Fireworks tech stack. So this was a very quick way of showing how you can use Fireworks AI on Foundry. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have anything else that you would like to see on Foundry itself. So thank you for stopping by, and this was great. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vignesh, for the amazing demo session. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and attending the amazing session. Just want to do some program announcement. We are going to also have a next session coming up really quickly. So if you are wanting to go to the next session, please hang tight, stay seated. If not, have a great day. Thank you so much for being here today.